Hey guys, it's Sayan. Welcome back on East Asia Stories Together. In this video, I'm going to review the news of the week in South Korea. The first news of the week were related to the diplomatic relations of South Korea with Japan. On Monday, the Democratic Party criticized President Yoon Suk Yeol's administration for engaging in submissive diplomacy with Japan. They claim that pro-Japan figures have been appointed to key positions and public displays of Dokdo, a contested isolate, have been removed. The party cites the appointment of Kim Hyung-suk as president of the Independence Hall of Korea and the removal of Dokdo models from public places as evidence. The government, however, says these removals are temporary for renewal. Opposition leaders argue that these actions undermine South Korea's sovereignty over Dokdo. The island of Dokdo, known as Takeshima in Japan, has been a contentious issue between South Korea and Japan due to historical, legal, and nationalistic factors. The roots of the dispute trace back to the early 20th century. Japan argues that it officially incorporated the island in 1905. With the annexation of Korea in 1910, Japan included Dokdo Takeshima in its administrative jurisdiction. This colonial rule was deeply resented by Koreans, and post-World War II, the island status became a point of contention between the newly independent Korea and Japan. The San Francisco Peace Treaty of 1951, which officially ended the war, did not resolve the issue, leading to differing interpretation by Korea and Japan. While the treaty required Japan to renounce claims to Korea and its territories, it did not specify the island's status. The dispute over Dokdo Takeshima remains tense due to a combination of factors. Nationalistic sentiments in both countries made compromise difficult, and historical grievances from the colonial era continue to influence public opinion. Despite tensions between the ruling and opposition parties in Korea over the diplomatic stance adopted towards Japan, relations between the two countries have improved under the leadership of Yoon Suk Yeol in Korea, Fumio Kishida in Japan, and Joe Biden in the United States. But with elections coming up next month in Japan and the U.S. election in November, this could be about to change. Many officials are reassuring public opinion to the contrary, starting with Japan's ambassador to Korea. According to Japanese ambassador to Korea, Koichi Mizushima, Japan expects its positive relationship with Korea to continue after Prime Minister Fumio Kishida's term ends. Despite Japan's ruling party election on September 27th, Mizushima believes the new prime minister will maintain the current momentum in bilateral relations. This optimism follows improved ties since Korea's decision to independently compensate wartime forced labor victims, which led to frequent meetings between leaders Yoon Suk Yeol and Kishida. However, recent criticism over Japan's UNESCO listing of the Sado mines has introduced some tension. Mizushima emphasized the importance of cooperative problem-solving and hinted at discussions for a memorial service for all workers, including Koreans. As a side note, the Sado mine complex was a site where many Koreans were forcibly taken to toil during World War II, when Korea was under Japan's colonial rule. We discussed this topic in more detail in a previous video on the channel. You can find the link in the description. Looking ahead, Japan and Korea are preparing for the 60th anniversary of diplomatic normalization and exploring ways to enhance mutual understanding. The next day, South Korea's Unification Minister released a similar statement on the South Korea-Japan-US trilateral cooperation. South Korea's Unification Minister Kim Hyung-ho said Wednesday that the trilateral partnership between South Korea, the US, and Japan will remain strong regardless of the outcome of the upcoming US presidential election. This collaboration, which focuses on countering North Korean provocations, was reinforced at the Camp David summit in August 2023, where leaders from the three countries agreed to enhance military and economic cooperation. Kim Hyung-ho emphasized that the commitment to North Korea's denuclearization will persist despite potential changes in U.S. leadership. This statement follows concerns over the omission of denuclearization goals from U.S. political platforms. U.S. Ambassador to South Korea Philly Goldberg also stressed the need to solidify and advance this trilateral partnership, emphasizing the importance of institutionalizing their joint efforts to address North Korea's nuclear threat effectively. Let's now move on to the latest political news from South Korea. On Tuesday, the government proposed a budget of 677.4 trillion won, which is a 3.2% increase from 2024, focusing on welfare and economic growth while ensuring fiscal discipline. Excluding mandatory spending, however, discretionary spending for next year logs a mere 0.8% on-year rise, as the government has sought fiscal austerity amid falling tax revenue and economic uncertainties. Key allocations include a 4.8% boost to health, welfare, and labor budget, and a 3.5% increase for education. The proposal also includes 252,000 new public homes, enhanced support for medical fields, and a record 29.7 trillion won for research and development. Defense spending will also rise by 3.6% to address North Korean threats. The national debt is expected to reach 1,277 trillion won, with the deficit forecast to decrease to 2.9% of GDP by 2025. In a rare national address on Thursday, President Yoon Suk Yeol proposed pension reforms aiming to ensure the long-term sustainability of the national pension system, shortened as NPS. He emphasized the need to safeguard pension payouts for future generations, promising legislation to guarantee payments even if the NPS fund depletes. He also pledged to ensure all senior citizens eligible for a basic pension of at least 400,000 won per month before his term ends in 2027, up about 20% from the current level. Yoon's push for reform comes amid low approval ratings, but experts say the move is necessary due to South Korea's aging population and low birth rate. The NPS is forecast to deplete by 2055, as pension spending will outsize contributions starting in 2041. Another hot topic this week has been the proliferation of pornographic deepfakes of young South Korean women, particularly on the social network Telegram. South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol has urged for thorough investigations into digital sex crimes, highlighting reports of sexually explicit deepfakes of South Korean women being shared in Telegram chat rooms. This call for action comes alongside the arrest of Telegram founder Pavel Durov in a French investigation into child pornography and drug trafficking. The Korea Communication Standards Commission will discuss countermeasures for deepfakes on Wednesday. Yoon described these deepfakes as a criminal misuse of technology. South Korean police have reported a surge in online deepfake sex crimes, with 297 cases in the first half of 2024, nearly double from the previous year. Reports include deepfakes targeting students and military personnel. Activists have criticized the government's response and called for a national emergency declaration to address the issue, citing difficulties in removing such content. On Thursday, the Korean government and the ruling People Power Party agreed to strengthen measures against deepfake sex crimes after public outrage over AI-generated pornography targeting young women on Telegram. In an emergency meeting at the National Assembly, they discussed increasing the maximum prison sentence for creating and distributing explicit deepfakes from 5 to 7 years. They also plan to establish a hotline with Telegram for better cooperation. Numerous chat rooms sharing deepfake content have been discovered, with many of the victims and perpetrators known to be teenagers. A task force led by the Office for Government Policy Coordination will address the issue, and the Defense Ministry is offering support to victims. Lastly, there were two important court rulings at the end of the week. The first concerns climate change. The Constitutional Court ruled that the law on climate change did not protect basic human rights. Thursday, South Korea's Constitutional Court has ordered the government to develop concrete climate plans extending to 2049, marking a partial win for climate activists who argue the country's current emission targets infringe on their rights. The court ruled on climate cases involving 255 plaintiffs, mostly young people, who filed complaints in 2020. While it did not require a more ambitious 2030 target, the court mandated the government to revise its climate law by February 2026 to include post-2031 emission reduction plans. Activists and plaintiffs welcomed the ruling, hoping it will inspire similar actions elsewhere. The South Korean government, criticized for its focus on nuclear energy and low renewable energy use, must now address this legal requirement. According to legal experts, this ruling potentially sets a precedent for climate-related legal action in the region. The second news is related to the arrest of the CEO of the battery company that caught fire in Hwasong, Suwon on June 24th. Park Soon-kwan, chief executive of a South Korean lithium battery maker, where a fire killed 23 people in June, has been arrested. The Suwon District Court approved a warrant on allegations of violating industrial safety law on August 28th. Park had previously claimed the company adhered to safety standards. The court also approved a detention warrant for Park's son, who is an executive at the company. Investigations revealed that the fire was caused by a rush to meet deadlines and unresolved battery defects, compounded by inadequate safety training for temporary workers. Park, who apologized publicly, did not respond to media questions about the charges. Thank you for watching this video. Stay updated on all these topics and more with our daily news roundup on Instagram. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you like our content. It really helps us out. See you soon!